Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Laura Smith from Blog Talk Radio. It is 6 o'clock here in the morning, Tuesday morning, July 26th. I'm glad to be here. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another. We're on for 30 minutes. It's a live internet streaming radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And chat room, I did pop the link into the chat room there if anybody'd like to check that out. We're looking at Robert Burney's web pages, and that's from Joy to Me and You. It's www.joy2meu.com, and we're looking at the recovery process, and this is all under the Inner Child Healing tab, and that's why I'm interested in looking at this. I'm looking at information regarding inner child work, and so Robert Burney's got a lot of great stuff there. I hope you will check it out. Robert Burney's website is www.joy2meu.com, and there's a site index on there, and if you go to the site index, you can click on that, and you can see everything that he's got there on his website. And he's got a lot of great info there on all different types of topics, and dealing with codependency and inner child work, also relationship type stuff, and for anybody who's grown up in a dysfunctional home or in an abusive home. So he's got some great stuff there. So Robert Burney, he's a codependent therapist. He's a grief counselor. He's a spiritual teacher, and he's also an author, and he's written a book called Codependence, The Dance of Wounded Souls, which I haven't read yet, but I'd sure like to. But he's got a lot of his excerpts from his book. So a lot of his material is in his work here on his web pages, and so it's really good stuff, and I hope everybody's getting something out of it. I know we've been on this for a couple months now, probably about over 2 months for sure. And so, I don't know, I just want to finish up looking at what I'm interested in for my healing journey, but you can all go to that website and check it out. It's great stuff. And so we were looking at this one webpage called, it's his recovery process, right? He says, my recovery process, taking action, sharing experience, strength, and hope. So he's talking about his own recovery process. Robert Burney's a survivor, so he's also a counselor and a therapist. So he's talking about how the process worked for him, and just to sort of give people a little bit of an idea of what he feels is a good way to sort of approach it. And like we were talking, he says the other day, like we were looking at this yesterday, living can only be done one day at a time, and today is all we really have. So if we spend all of our time focused on the future, we will miss out on today, and or spend too much time in the past, we'll miss out on today, right? Just being in the present, And so he says some people use being in the moment as an excuse to indulge in instant gratification. So instant gratification is not bad or wrong, but we are constantly empowering instant gratification. We are, we are not taking responsibility for being co-creators in our life. Because of our childhood wounds, the majority of the time when we indulge in instant gratification, what we are doing is letting the child's wounds run the show. The king, queen, baby within us, whose mantra is, I want it now. So, which just makes sense to me. I mean, I totally know, about that. I never really thought of it being my inner child or inner children running the show, but it's just that I've always been one of those people looking for instant gratification. Pretty much that's probably why I smoke cigarettes. I'm still trying to quit that, but also things like, if overindulging in food, sort of thing. Like if I want something to eat, I'm just like, no, I want it now. Just looking to self-soothe and self-comfort with, instead of looking internally to, or looking within me to find the, to be more on a spiritual level, and just looking for something like that. I'm looking for cigarettes, or some people look for alcohol, some people look for drugs, some people look for food, and I use a little bit of food and some cigarettes, but I don't drink. So it's good because I really don't allow myself to do that too much. But when I was younger, I was always when I was under the age of 21, I was using drugs and stuff like that. So and I know what it's like to be in this position. It's hard, and I think what a lot of it, what it is it just allows me to not have to deal. Because sometimes I just, I think many people use this stuff so that they don't have to deal with the real issues are, because possibly it's just too hard. And I think at a certain point, like I know for myself, like working through this stuff, at a certain point, like I did quit smoking one time for over a year, and then I started back again, and I realized why I do it. You know what I mean? Like for many, many reasons. And so I'm like, well, if I could just get a grip on what is actually the root cause, which I know it stems from my childhood, get a hold of what that is, what that need, and find something else that's much more healthier to replace it, which wouldn't be to keep overeating, because that's not healthy either. But something that's healthy, like whether it be exercise or just something more of a spiritual thing, meditation, or whatever it is. I mean, if I could find something that would be much more healthier than smoking, it'd be so much better for me. Because smoking is, it's horrible. Like, I've been smoking since I was like 12 years old, and like I've been smoking a lot since I was like 12 years old, and like I'm like, nowadays cigarettes are so expensive, I can't afford them, and so it just makes sense to quit all the way around. But it's hard for me because that's exactly what I do. I use them for that thing that says I want. I need comfort. I need this. This is what I need, and I need it right now. And so my body and my mind tells me that I need that. And that's harsh, because that's what a lot of people are going through on a much worse level with drug abuse and also alcohol, which is, to me, is just as bad or worse. Because at least I can still work. It's just that it's a harsh situation, because I know that's what I'm doing. I'm just using these things. This is having grown up in a dysfunctional, emotionally repressive society, causes us to want immediate gratification that helps us to repress the feelings and or nurture the wounded child inside of us. So he says substances like sugar, alcohol, drugs, activities like isolating, obsessing, doing something, anything rather than being in our own bodies or feeling our feelings, are ways of escaping being in the moment. Yeah, because if I can have that cigarette, then everything's fine, And I mean, that's what I use it for. Like, as long as I can have a cigarette, I'm like, oh, it's all fine. Because what it does, it allows me to not have to deal with what I need to deal with. And so, I've been doing this for a long time, right? When I did quit, I was on my healing journey. It was within the last 4 years. And I did quit smoking for over a year and thought that I was doing all right. But I was still, I did really good. I think if I would have kept going in it, it would have been great. But for some reason, I just felt like, I really need that. I need that cigarette, and so I started smoking again. It's pretty harsh. But he says what we are looking for in recovery is balance. So what we are doing in recovery is growing up so we can relate to life as a mature, healthy adult who is able to have the choice to be in the moment at the same time that we are owning our responsibility as a co-creator of our life. So he says we're learning how to be in the moment in a stop and smell the roses type of way instead of out of instant gratification. So I guess and I think eventually that will come. That's my goal, really. I mean, that's exactly what the goal is. Just to be able to enjoy being in my skin, being in my body, being in my experience, in the present, and be comfortable with it. Because I was never comfortable in my own skin. I was never comfortable in my own existence. Just when you wanted to kill yourself, you're not comfortable. And I mean, I was very uncomfortable physically, emotionally, psychologically. And I mean, I'm physically uncomfortable all the time. You know what I mean? It doesn't. Some of it was from the abuse, and some of it was from car wrecks that I had. And so, it's not all from the abuse. Like some of it is, and some of it's not. Some of it's from these car wrecks that I had. We had, I had X-rays done during these car wrecks where they discovered a lot of old wounds and stuff, and they were like, well, you were either abused or you were really clumsy. And I was like, well, a little of both, I didn't want to just it's obvious the social services, I mean, the information is there, whatever's there, right? The issue is that, I was kind of when I was young, always trying to hurt myself too, right? So I had these issues of self-injury, and I also had abuse inflicted upon me, right? So it was kind of like, there's a multiple level of issues going on, and why I'm in pain all the time. And, and also these car wrecks that I had, right? Some of them were my fault and some of them weren't. And some of them were pretty bad. So, it was pretty harsh. So I'm in pain all the time, right, physically. And, pain in my heart, just emotionally, psychologically, wounded, just this pain, this pain that just kept, it's much better now than it ever was. Tell you that, just because I've been on my healing journey 4 years, but just a whole lot of pain and dealing with this stuff. And when I was a child, of course, I was in pain, and I was in pain in every way as a child, and as growing up and as a teenager, I started to use drugs to numb it out. I didn't start smoking first. I started using heavy-duty drugs, and I didn't start smoking cigarettes until I was about 19, but I started smoking everything else at the age of 12, whatever I could get my hands on. And, taking whatever kind of drugs or pills I could get my hands on, and drinking as much alcohol as I could possibly get my hands on, which wasn't all that hard. So, I was just self-medicating. I was just trying to numb out the pain, trying to escape that misery, and whether it's the physical stuff and the emotional stuff. So I'm still doing the same thing, literally, with my cigarettes and my coffee. Like, it's just a legal way for me to do it now, because I'm off the drugs now since I was 21 years old, which is great. But the thing is that, and I don't have any interest in starting to use drugs again. I really have been very good about that, like, because I know that it will kill me. That's what it will take my life. These cigarettes will kill me too if I don't quit smoking these stupid things. So that's the thing. It's kind of like, well, eventually what I hope to do is become so peaceful in my body, so peaceful in my mind, so peaceful in my very existence here, and actually really love myself to the point where, and love this existence and love my life to where I don't need the cigarettes anymore, I can convince myself now if I want to that I don't need them, but I really do. That's the issue. I need something, whether it's cigarettes or some sort of medication or whatever, but obviously I need something. So it's hard, it really is. But I think at the end of the road, we have to have something at the end of the road that's like a goal, that says, hey, at the end of the road, man, I want to walk free from this addiction problem, because I've had an addiction problem since I was a kid. And so I'm like, I would really like to be able to walk free from that and just be comfortable in my own skin, in my own existence. And it's getting better every year. And I think what's really helping me right now is the fact that I got rid of my dysfunctional family. I cut them off. And that helps me a lot, because I know that when I quit smoking, and I've got some good friends here. I got Gypsy Witch and same as you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, each year kind of that goes by and I make these changes. It's been 4 years since I've been on my healing journey. It gets a little bit better, and I start to see, a little on a deeper level, like what I was doing, why I was doing it, what was causing me to continue to do it, as far as, just not taking care of myself and not getting, and not really doing what I need to do to have a good life and have a healthy life. And so, as I'm working through this journey here, I'm starting to find, like, it's starting to make sense to me now, like the disease, that Robert Birdie's talking about, the whole world is pretty well living that, right? And if we don't have to be a part of that, And so I just surround myself with people that are decent, that are good, most of the friends that I have don't live anywhere near me, and so it's hard because I don't have a whole lot of local support. And I got rid of my dysfunctional family because that was really the only local support that I had, and they weren't supportive. I was like, okay, you guys are gone, just causing me grief and misery. So I was really happy to get rid of them. And plus it gave me the control. The control was finally in my shoes, in my boat. I finally got to say, you know what? You hurt me. I don't want you in my life because you're not even apologizing for it, And you don't care that I'm suffering. You don't care, I literally, that's why I started smoking again, because I told my sister, I had a chat with her about, it's been a year and a half now ago, when I told her that our brother had sexually abused me, right? And I was like, I needed a cigarette for that, right? Because I had quit smoking, and I was like, man, I'm gonna tell her, because just in case she was sexually abused, then she would be able to maybe feel comfortable to come and tell me, And so I thought, well, just in case, because I was kind of wondering if she was, and so, I just needed a cigarette for that. I was like, man, I have to have a smoke, and so I started smoking again, just because of that, And I told my sister, I was sexually abused by her brother, And she didn't say anything. She just sat there, with this blank look on her face, like, she just didn't say anything at all. I was expecting to hear her say, oh, that's just bullshit, because my sister and I don't get along, We just, we don't get along really all that well at all. I mean, as much as I love her, we just never have. And I was looking for something from her. I was looking for either complete, anger, saying, what are you saying? Or something that would say something like, well, okay, maybe really? Like, oh my God, can I help you? You're my sister, you're my little sister. Like, I was looking for something from her, right? Whatever kind of response it was, I was looking for something. Nothing. Just this blank stare. It's kind of like, okay. And then, it's sort of the same thing that I get when I talked to my family and I told my siblings. I was like, because they'd be like kind of sticking up for my dad, and I'd be like, well, Dad raped Mom. You know what I mean? These are the kind of responses I would get from them. They just didn't care. It was just like, oh my God, like, why do I have to hang around with these people? So, finally, At the age of 45, I said, okay, enough. I don't have to have you losers in my life anymore. You know what I mean? Thank God. Because, they don't like me either. Right? It's not like, they're not all that unhappy that I blew them off. They don't like me either. And they certainly don't like the fact that I've come out and told the whole world about what they did and what happened to our family. Like my two abusers are passed on. Like my mother's been gone for 16 years and 16 and a half years or whatever. My brother committed suicide when he was 33 and I was 20, so there you go. And that's my main abusers. My abuser dad is still living is what it is. And like my sister is still very much codependent and very much dysfunctional and very much wounded. Like she hasn't even acknowledged this whole thing, you know what I mean? We do talk about stuff, but she was always never there. Right? It's like, right, okay. You were there. She's like, oh, I was not there. I wasn't there. She's in so much denial that whether she'll ever be able to get any help, I don't know. So and my other brother is just so hateful. I can't stand him. And he's in his 60s. He's one of the older brothers. And when I was, he was moved out by the time I was born. He moved out, and the abuse was so bad at that time that he split. He ran away. My other sister did too. My older siblings took off, and the social services got involved and everything, and it was absolutely ridiculous. And so my bro, he moved to Canada, and I really didn't know him. He's one of the older siblings and second born, and he split. He was like, oh, I'm gone, and he was 16 years old. He was gone. And so I met him as an adult. Well, I actually saw him when I was 7 or 8 years old because he came to visit because my brother was killed. One of my brothers was murdered, so he came down to see my mother and everything like that, and brought his wife and everything. And then, so I did see him like for a week or two here and there. It just wasn't really enough to get to know your brother, sort of thing. I knew he was my brother, but I didn't know him. And kind of always hero worshipped him. I thought he was pretty cool, and just the stories that were told about him and stuff like that. I thought he was pretty cool. And then years later as an adult, I finally got to talk to him, and he came down to visit, and he was talking to me, and he says, when you were a baby, he says, I'm so sorry. Like, he was crying. We took a drive, and he was crying, and here's this old, he's like 16 years older than me, right? And he's like crying away, and he's like, if I could have took you with me, I would have. I'm sorry because I know what you went through here. I know what you had to go through growing up under this mom and dad, you know what I mean? Because he grew up in the same home I did. And he was like, for the first time, being real in his lifetime. For the first time being a real human being. After that, he completely shut down. And so now he's so shut down and so screwed in the head that I can't even talk to him. Because he's not even real. Like, I don't know who he is. I don't think he knows who he is, Like, the guy, it definitely affected us all. And these are the only two siblings that I have left, you know what I mean? So, my family, everybody else is dead and passed on or killed, murdered, died, overdosed, whatever. And so, these two siblings are into huge denial. So for me to stick around with them just doesn't really help me out on my journey. You know what I mean? Because they're just in denial. It's like, okay, they're going to have to do denial on their own, because I'm not interested in that. We were never going to ever be able to come together as a family. And the sad thing is my sister was hoping that would be the case. But like I told her, I said, and my brother said, like, there's no way we can come together as a family. Like, you got to be kidding if you think that. So my brother thinks my sister is absolutely crazy. And I don't think she's crazy. I think she's just in denial, and she wishes for this family that just never really existed, And so, it's just sad, that people will hang around and wish for that. That's why I was like, you guys, I have to cut you off because I got to make some progress here on my healing journey, man. I have no time to be messing around with a bunch of people who are in denial and who are hanging out with an abuser dad who's still just as dysfunctional and just as abusive, really, as he ever was, really, as far as being toxic goes. And the guy can't help it. He's mentally ill, So it's not really like it's well, it is his fault. But the thing is some of it's not. Like, he is mentally ill, and he was diagnosed, borderline schizophrenic with borderline personality problems and everything else. And, he's just a sick man, right? So it's good not to hang around with him, And so, yeah, really, like, my life was turned upside down for a year while he was here because he stayed with me because nobody else would take him in. And he was looking to get a senior's place, and he had to wait for a year because he was living in the States. And of course, coming up to Canada, you have a waiting list. But my all my family's Canadian, so he just was put on a list, and he had to wait. So I had to, I let him stick around with me for a year, and basically that's what happened. That's exactly what happened, because he was here living with me, and after 2 months, I realized that, oh my God, here's this same abuser, rotten dad that I hated my whole entire life, really. And here I was thinking we were going to be able to get our relationship somewhat even going, because we didn't have one. I'm like, and I thought, what am I doing? Like, this guy is never going to change. He's just the same old abuser dad, but he's just really old now, And so I'm like, oh my God. So you want to talk about inner rage and inner panic going on. My inner child was like going, you're not going to tell me that we're going to have to sit here and put up with more abuse from this old man. Like, we already put up with enough from this old guy. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, I know, like, what am I going to, So then I had made a deal that he could stay with me for a year, and he's an old man, and I thought, God, I'm not going to kick him out on the street as much as I really wanted to. So what I did, I started writing my blog, and I started telling the world what he did, and I was like, this is I said, I don't care. And I literally told him to his face, I said, I'm telling the world about what you did to Mom, to me. I'm telling the world, I said, you're not getting away with this, buddy, not at all. And I mean, because he was very hurtful. He's a very hurtful person, right? He's very hurtful to his children. He loves other people. He loves church congregations, and he's very, very much a sick, twisted, evil man. Like, he will get in really well with the society and church members and people who read the Bible. But his family, I mean, he raped and raped and beat his wife repeatedly, and did not love her. No, didn't show her one bit of love. He treated her like a dog, and that's why she was so wounded. She came out of an abusive home herself with her stupid mother, my murderer, disgusting grandmother, who I have nothing good to say about at all, and treated my mother like crap. So she got into this marriage. The only thing that makes me mad about my mother, as far as their marriage went, is that she could have got out. She could have got out. The courts, when the courts busted my dad, really it was my dad who was brought up on charges, but they had to go to court, and then all the siblings testified that my mother was also abusing us, so she was busted too. And then the two of them were told, look, you can't keep these children. There's no way you can keep these children. And my mom was like, please, let me keep my children. I love my children, which she didn't, right? And she was using everybody for a punching bag. And, the issue is I was just born, just a newborn, like 2-year-old. And, here's my mother, oh, no, don't take my children, I love my children. It was all him, and the kids were like, no, you're abusing us too. And so the courts were like, oh, good Lord. So they had a psych test done on my parents, and they found out they're both mentally ill, and they were both abused as children, so they needed to go for all kinds of help, and they didn't go. And the issue is, it's just absolutely insane that my mother had, at that opportunity, could have left. She really, at that point, could have said, look, I can't do this, right? I don't want these children. I didn't want any of them. They're all, half of them are born out of rape with this stupid man here. No, I don't want them. I'm an artist. My mother was an awesome artist. She could have drawn. She could draw people in motion. So she could have drawn for Sears Roebuck or any of those big top magazines back in the old days there when they were still using cartoon figures. My mother was a gifted artist. And the thing is she didn't want children, and she didn't want this stupid abuser, raper man who was claiming to be her husband. And she could have got out, But no, she just chose to keep us in the home and just abuse us and use us for punching bags and let my brothers actually use me. And, absolutely horrible. And then there's my stupid family sitting around. But Mom used to make cookies. We just love Mom. And I'm like, oh, good for you. Good for you. Isn't that great? That you can live in that kind of, in that world. Sometimes I wish I could be part of that world, that pretend world. Well, Mom used to make cookies. Oh, we just love her, It's like, yeah, okay. She was my nightmare, and caused me a whole lot of grief and a whole lot of pain and a whole lot of suffering. And even today I'm suffering from the beatings that she dished out. She ended up, my mind, scarred my mind, scarred my soul, my spirit, my soul, and my body, right? So, why would she stay in that? You know what I mean? She had every opportunity to get out. So there's my abuser dad today. sitting around trying to fake the world out. I'm like, you know what, buddy? I'm telling the world about what you did. And I don't care. And Mom did too, but she's gone, so it don't matter. But for you, you're still here, buddy, and I'm telling it like it is. So he knows. He knows I wrote this book, and he knows that I told. And he says, he calls me at Christmas time, we just need to move on. We need to forgive and forget. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. It's like my abuser dad telling me, oh, we just have to forgive and forget. It's like, yeah, okay, that's because we were on the receiving end. That's what I was talking about yesterday morning. I was like, you got to be kidding. Like, it's real easy for him to say that. You know, he wasn't on the other side. You know, he was on the other side with the boot end, giving the boot. You know, raping and pillaging. You know, his family. You know, it's like, it's easy for you to say that, buddy, but not so easy for us, you know. So I just didn't want to hear that from him, so I cut him off like last December. So now this December will be a year. But I cut my sister off even before that, August. So I mean, a year since I cut my sister off. But I'm so happy I did. And even if, you know, my sweetheart, he's terminally ill, so when he, you know, when the time comes and he passes on and goes away, I will pretty much be on my own, you know what I mean? But the thing is, I have some really good friends, and it's so much better than having their dysfunctional garbage continually keep me in that role, because that's what they do, and that's why I had to change that, because they were basically keeping me in that same old role as they see me, right? As this kid who didn't deserve to be loved, deserved every beating that I got, deserved to be raped and sodomized by my brother. You know, it's like, you got to be kidding me. You know what I mean? Like, no kid deserves that. No kid would want that, and no kid asked for that. You know, but my stupid couple of siblings that are left are so ignorant, you know, and I really attribute it to ignorance, because they do not, they know what I'm doing, you know, working to stop child abuse and whatnot and prevent child abuse, and they absolutely hate it. They think it's horrible. Because my brother, why? He's an abuser. He abused his son, right? So he thinks it's great. You should be allowed to beat on your children and do whatever you want to your children. And my sister, she doesn't like it because she's ashamed of the words. She can't even say stop child abuse. It wouldn't even come out right. She'd be like, stop child abuse. It's like, yeah, okay, never mind. You know what I mean? It's like, no, they don't think there's anything wrong with it. They just think it's okay to abuse children, rape children, sexually use children, molest children. They think it's fine that somebody would just want to bash a child's head in like my mother, and they think that's great, no problem, you know, and I must have deserved it because I was just such a bad kid, you know. So that's what they think about all these kids out here who are being stabbed and murdered and raped and pillaged and killed by these stupid people who are supposed to love them and care about them, which I would say were their parents or caregivers. And, you know, I have two siblings that back them up. So why would I want to hang around with those assholes? You know what I mean? Like, literally, no. They're not welcome in my life. They come knock on the door, I will not answer the door because they're dead to me. I will not go to their funerals. I will not, you know, I'm done with them, right? And they made their choice. They made their choice because they chose to choose the side of my parents and my sick brother who raped me repeatedly and sodomized me. They would choose them over me. They would not come and sit on the couch with me and say, you know what, Lori, you didn't deserve any of that. My God, you know, we didn't deserve this. Like, here, we're the older siblings. We didn't protect you. We're sorry. And, you know, we should have, it's not that we could protect you, but we should have been there for you here now, right? And then I might be willing to talk to them. But I'm not getting any of that. I'm getting, you're just a loser. You're just like your brothers. You're just, you know, just, this is their disdain for me, right? They're disdained, right? It's like, oh, brother, you know, like I've already, you know, excuse me, but it doesn't get any more disdainful than my own mother telling me she wished I was dead, you know, so I don't really care about you pukes, you know what I mean? So this is my family, right? Very, very sick and twisted. And that's why I had to get rid of them. So that was a big part of, you know, of taking action. And so that's sort of what, like Robert Birdie's saying, like sometimes, you know, we have to take action on these things, right? And whatever, if we're in a dysfunctional environment and we're still around these abusers who would hurt us, it's real hard to be on a healing journey, right? It's really hard to get any progress made when you still have people still be putting their dysfunctional, abusive garbage on you. So that's why, I mean, it was real easy for me to walk away from them and, you know, work further on my healing journey, because this is what really important to me. And, you know, it was more important than hanging around with my abuser family. Much more important, right? So, but not everybody, I guess, can do that, but I was really blessed to be able to do it. But thanks, everybody, for being here. I really appreciate it. It's more of a ramble here this morning. But I'll be back I'm back on tonight on Dreamcatchers Talk Radio, and I'll be back tomorrow on my regular shows. One child abuse survivor to another, and tomorrow night I'll be back on my shows as well. So thanks a lot for tuning in. I appreciate you guys being here, Gypsy Witch, and same as you. And I mean, you guys, I appreciate you being here with me on my journey. And I know that a lot of you are here like almost every day, and you're a winner in my book too, Gypsy Witch. Thanks so much, and I appreciate all your help. Like I've got a lot of great friends who've been helping me through this, and it's not like I'm on my own. And self-help, I'm doing it self-help, but I'm not really by myself. I'm not really on my own. I have people who check in on me every day to make sure that I'm okay. And these are not my family. They're not my biological family. My biological family doesn't care if I'm dead in a gutter somewhere. But these people check in with me every day. Like these are like my real family, right? Like these are my friends, my family, right? And this is the family I choose for myself, and it's such a better family because these people actually love me and they care about me. I mean, that's awesome. So, I'd say be very careful who you have in your life, and make sure you reach out to some decent people. Be careful who you're reaching out to. You have to know that they're trustworthy, because you do not want to be re-victimized at all, and to continue on in this mess, right? You want to have good people, loving people, caring people, kind people around you. But you do have to reach out if you want that, because it does take some reaching out, But you have to set boundaries and say, okay, this is what I will take, this is what I will allow, this is what I won't allow. And so you have to be very careful about those boundaries and make sure that you understand where they are when you actually reach out, so that you don't allow people in your life who's just going to continue to make it worse, right? And there's lots of great info about boundaries and stuff out there. So Robert Burney has a bunch of good information there too. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. If you're having a hard time coping and whatnot, call a crisis line. Do not allow yourself to spiral downward. Don't allow yourself to be destroyed by this, Just call a crisis line and talk to somebody. If you can't get a hold of friends or your therapist or whatever, you make sure that you call a crisis line, right? So thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.